Everyone, I'm Claude of Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this evening's Wacky Woo Show. With me, of course, is the one and only, the man, the legend himself, Mr. Jay Weidner. You can find him at jayweidner.com and also here on his YouTube channel, Reality Check. Jay, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Summer's treating me well. Got a bit of a tan. But at the same time, things are getting crazier and crazier by the day, and I don't know what the hell to make of this world, Jay. So thank you for being on tonight. We're going to try to dive into all of this and decode this for the audience members. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this live interactive show. We are currently triple casting on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And in a few minutes, we're going to be dropping the YouTube channel for obvious reasons to get into some deeper conversations here with our dear friend, Mr. Jay Weidner. Jay, how you been doing? We haven't talked for about a month or so, and since we last spoke, like things got actually really crazy to the point where we're being gaslit by our own president, and we're wondering why. So, where do we start? It's just been absolutely mind-boggling to be treated in the way that we've been treated in the last couple of weeks, and to some extent, we think, maybe this is all design, maybe there's all a plan, and then maybe there's not, and maybe this is all going off the rails. Which is it, Jay? Where do you think we're heading with all of this? Let's start there.
I think that Trump tricked the Democrats into being okay with the release of the Epstein List, and I think it was a masterful move. And he probably is on the list. I mean, he did go there, if there even is a list. But he did hang out with those guys. But this is all like 20 years ago. There's nothing recent has happened outside of the Virginia Giuffre dying in Australia in a strange accident, and this whole Ghislaine Maxwell stuff going on. Her dad, Robert Maxwell, is this big media mogul in England, and he was clearly, Mossad. He admitted it. So he died in a really strange accident. He was yachting in the Caribbean, or maybe the Mediterranean. I can't remember. And then he went swimming, and he never was seen again. No, he was seen again, but he drowned. But his waiter or one of his servants said they saw a frogman earlier out in the water. So it's an old way to get people. But so the whole thing is coming unglued. I don't think there's anything that anybody can do about it. I'm rather anxious to see who's on the list. I think I can guess. And I don't think they're going to put out a list. I think they're going to have like Ghislaine do some kind of congressional testimony, and then she's just going to.
Well, she was just interviewed for 2 days this last week, and apparently at the end of those 2 days, she named 100 names of potential associates, I think is how they framed it in the mainstream news. So we don't know still if those names are the people who are actually hurting children or not, or whether or not they're financial partners to some of the activities on the island. We don't know yet. But what was odd about that? Let me ask you this too. She's been tried, she's been convicted, and she's in jail for child trafficking. Why is it just now that the DOJ wants to have a conversation with her about these names? You would think that would have already happened. What's going on with that?
Well, the Democrats didn't want to open it up, so that tells you about who's on the list. And if Trump was on the list, they would have released it. So that doesn't make any sense. So I think that it's the Streisand effect, and Trump created it. Barbara asked everybody to stop photographing her house in Malibu, and all that did was drive thousands of more people to drive by her house and photograph her house in Malibu and put it up on X. So, you can't call attention to it. He's too smart a chess player to know that you can't do that. So he called attention to it on purpose.
Right.
I pretty much believe that.
In that line, I think so too. Like I'm there. I'm just curious at the approach. I'm assuming if that's what he wanted to do and that was his objective, you would think that he would try to reach that objective without necessarily hurting or aggravating his base. And now we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks some of his own internal pundits suggesting that, hey, Mr. President, we might be in trouble here with some of our base, especially in context of the incoming primaries. And of course, we don't want Trump to lose any seats and lose any power in the House to move forward with this legislation. So the fact that he was somewhat gaslighting his base, and to the extent of calling them stupid and saying, hey, if you're asking questions about Epstein, you're not a supporter of mine, I don't want you. Why did he need to go that far? I'm curious about that aspect. Do you have a...
That's Trump. He can't take any criticism, right? So, you
Right.
know, he was being criticized with the Pam Bondi,
Right.
and that's the way he reacts. That's how he does it. He can't take it, and so he lashes out, alpha male like, and I really would like to be a fly on the wall in those cabinet meetings with all those alpha males. I bet that's got a lot of tension in it. So
I can
that's
just imagine. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
at this stage. We just have to accept Trump for what he is, and that he's a Gemini, right? He's going to be schizophrenic. There's just no other way around it.
Right. Now, is there a potential in here? Like you and I have had many conversations over the last years about Q, about the movement, about the so-called trust the plan situation. And we always looked at that from a perspective of, yeah, that's all good and nice. But at the same time, who was it? The Reagan who said you must trust, but you also have to verify, right? So there's like we don't want to give these guys our blind trust and just trust the plan and kind of go away. So in that vein, asking questions about why things are developing the way they are now, seemingly they don't make sense. Part of it could actually just be a strategy to destabilize the enemy, and clearly Trump's an expert at destabilizing the enemy with the way he speaks and the way he gestures and the way he brings things about, even to the point now of maybe aggravating part of his base, even if it's temporary. But is there a potential in here too that some of those things or some of the agendas at play might be at risk right now, that there might be some type of setback they're dealing with that is yet unknown or unacknowledged? And what do we do to make sure that we bring it back on track if that is the case? What would you say, Jay?
No, I don't think things are going off the rails at all. I think that he knows, as I know, that when they start bringing in, what are we at now? Almost $1 trillion in tariffs.
Mhm.
When that comes,
700,000, 750, I think, yesterday.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's more than that.
750 billion, they were saying
Yeah, that's
yesterday. Yeah, exactly. They're
yeah.
actually close to the number they had suggested a couple of years ago that if they reach that 7 or 3/4 of $1 trillion, that they could eliminate income tax on all income underneath 150K. So we're almost at that mark now, and that's going to be interesting also moving forward. But yes, keep going.
Yeah, he wants to eliminate the income tax. He wants to go back to America of 1870 to 1913. Where we were the number one superpower. We were the number one manufacturing. We had the number one Navy. We had the number one military. We weren't paying income taxes. Everybody was really doing really well. All you have to do is look how much money they spent on all of the world's fairs that went on during that time period. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be half our national budget today just to put on a World's Fair. And so, there really is nowhere to go. He's going in the only place left to go. I mean, he's a chess player. He was a major chess champion in his 20s, and his son's a major chess champion. And he knows how to make moves ahead of time. That's why he's a good businessman. And, I don't think that. Here's what I think. I think maybe, just maybe, it's time to forget about the past. We're so burdened with the present and so burdened with all these possible futures that maybe we should just I'm not saying forget the past, but not put so much passion into things that we can't do anything about. The past doesn't exist. All right. It does not exist. It's gone. You can never go back to it. You can never come back. And so I don't think we should forget Epstein, but I think what we really should be doing is rooting out child trafficking that's going on right now, today. I think that should be our highest priority. Then we can go, if we have time, go back and look at it all. But another thing that is going to be interesting is to look at the possible suspects and their behavior that's going to happen right now. What is Bill Clinton going to do? What is the former Fed chairman going to do? What's going to happen here? Are they going to make moves that are going to make it obvious? And I'm going to say they are. You're probably going to see some people making some idiotic moves because they're afraid that the walls are going to come tumbling down on them. And Yeah.
Let's get to that in just a moment, because was it a month ago or 2 months ago that Trump posted on True Social that all roads led to Obama, and he was asking his audience if we were ready for military tribunal. And the mainstream news completely ignored that. It's like he never said it, but we were like, "Whoa!" A sitting president just pointed the finger at another previous president. I thought that was big. But now this week, Trump is now openly going after Obama. Tulsi Gabbard came out with some of the evidence suggesting that he was involved in this coup d'etat and the fake election and the Russia gate, all these things, right? At the same time, Obama came out the next day. Oh no, that's preposterous. And then there was a tit for tat. Tulsi Gabbard came out. Oh no, look at all this. It's undeniable. Blah blah. And I was questioning that because I'm like, well, hold a second. If they really wanted to put Obama in handcuffs or they were ready for justice, would they lead with their cards open like that to everyone, or they would just do it? Right now, it seems to me like there's a lot of talk, but there's still no action. What do you make of that? Is it because right now the populace wouldn't be ready for the handcuffs and that could cause way more trouble? And now they're starting to, I guess, educate the public, the masses, not necessarily people watching the show, but everybody else, that there is indeed a problem and there is something to be fixed there in terms of justice? Is that what's going on? Or is it's just another show or a distraction for now? Or maybe a little bit of both? What do you think?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I think that, we can't underestimate this mafia that we're dealing with. They are really, really, as a undercover agent once said to me, the mafia that they'll kill you if you cross them. This mafia that we're talking about, they'll kill your dog, your kids, your wife, and then let you live. That's how bad they are. And so, and then, Trump has rubbed shoulders with this mafia. There's no way. You cannot play the real estate game in Manhattan without being with the mafia. You can't. You can't hire unions. You can't. Nobody will work for you. You've got to give money to everybody. So, he's been there and he knows who he's dealing with, and he knows they're very dangerous people. But if you notice what he does is he never goes all the way with what this mafia wants. He gives them a little bit and then pulls way back. And because he knows that that's the only way to really deal with these people without them killing you, basically. And I'm pretty sure now that I'm looking at Russiagate and everything that's come out in the last few weeks, that the O-man is probably behind the 2 assassination attempts. Some way. I don't know what, but some way. They do not, the 2
that we kind of know about, but there's another 7 in the mix there. Yeah.
Well, it's very odd. I mean, the assassination attempts, we don't know anything about anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, Crooks, we never interviewed his parents. We don't know if he had a laptop or what was in his room or why he was never on social media and why he was on the phone that day and who he was on the phone with. And I don't know.
It was curious too, because Trump came out the last report. He said, "Oh, I'm satisfied with this. Like, let's move on." I'm like, "Well, we're not satisfied. We want answers." So that too is a little interesting. But again, dealing with this mafia, I think it brings us back all the way back to JFK's assassination. Right? These powers are still at play. Trump knows this, of course, and he's trying to get to a certain objective without getting his head chopped off before he gets to the objective. We all understand that, and we appreciate that. I saw yesterday or the day before too, they just armored his golf cart thing, so that was like he's got even extra protection. I think that's good for him. But that brings me to the question: when they do start, because eventually I think they must and they will get to the justice, and we'll see people in handcuffs at some point. At that point, that's the critical mass. Do they get to try to eliminate him off the board? Will he have done enough to prevent that scenario from being played out? Is that what's really happening right now, and why there's all this tit for tat and all of this confusion? What do you make of that? Because I believe that once he starts arresting people, then it's like we're in no man's land, and anybody, as you said at the beginning, they might do some things crazy, like pressing that red button and scorched earth theory on everything. Who knows what happens after that? We're in a difficult time right now, don't you think?
And I think he knows that. I think that's why he's being so cautious, and he knows who he's dealing with, dude. They're really, really serious people, and that they will kill anybody and everybody. And I think that, they personally, I think in the last few weeks, like maybe 2 weeks ago, they had a negotiation with this mafia, the big, really strong mafia. And, a lot of things were probably said that are really uncomfortable. And I think that's when Trump began backing off with the Epstein list and his own assassination attempts and everything. Like, some kind of deal was cut. That's all
And
I can.
why do you peg it to 2 weeks ago? Like, what are the key indicators that suggested
That's
that?
when it all changed. All of a
Okay,
sudden,
the
all of a
behavior
sudden,
changed.
yeah,
Yeah,
everything just changed all of a
yeah,
sudden. It was like, what's
yeah.
going on here? And and there's clearly some kind of limited hangout, and they can
So
only
you
go
think
so
that in that
far.
conversation, the bad guys kind of agreed to maybe give us Obama, put him in chains, and maybe even Clinton here in exchange for maybe delaying the Epstein things? Do you think they had
No,
that
he
thought in mind?
already knew about Obama. That's one of
Okay,
the reasons he got so irritated about Epstein, was because
right,
he knew the Russia gate was about to drop, and he didn't want anything to get in front of it. And now this was getting in front of it when he knew that this was a much bigger bomb because it's right now, right?
right.
And Obama's not going to get arrested. He has Trump has the Supreme Court rule that the
The
president,
immunity, presidential immunity. Yeah.
so they're not going to go after.
Although some people
I
were
think they
opining
will go after.
today. Yes, but some people are opining today, and I saw some op-eds yesterday too, suggesting that maybe this treason would trump this presidential immunity, and that actual Obama could actually be in trouble. But Trump did say, if you parse his words, because a reporter did ask him, "Hey, that precedent for you and your presidential immunity, does that apply to Obama?" And he said, "Yes, he owes me big time, and probably yes, he's going to be immune from this." He said probably, so he didn't say yes, absolutely, but he says he owes me big time. So that might have been part of that negotiation 2 weeks ago, to where they were kind of mitigating the fallout to all of this stuff.
Trump's not a vindictive guy. There's no evidence of that. He didn't go after Hillary.
Oh,
He
we
didn't.
would have seen that in the first term if it was the case. I agree with you.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not vindictive. I've seen
Yeah.
no vindictive behavior at
Yeah.
all. In fact, he usually wants to back off from all the military stuff he's being presented with. So,
Yeah.
but again, he was dealing with this mafia when it came to Iran. He had to do something. And I don't know if the world is crying too much that Iran can't, it doesn't have nukes. So,
Right.
it really wasn't that much of a dust up for him. So
Right.
he's playing a long term strategy game. He knows he messed up his base, but he knows he can get them back, and he's getting them back slowly but surely. And when and he is going to go after people, probably more low level people like Letitia James and that kind of person. Although I do think Brennan, just because Brennan was at the center of the orchestration outside of Obama, but also Brennan's got a real problem, is that he's an unlikable guy. Nobody likes him, and it's like, throw him to the wolves because nobody likes this dude.
Yeah. Let me just get off YouTube. I think we went far enough already with all of this. I might have to delete that YouTube portion. Guys, I just put a link in the live chat there if you want to come and join us, either on Rumble or on X for the no holds barred conversation here. We've got lots of this and much more coming up. So let me just remove this and remove yes and yes. All right. Okay. So let's put this in perspective. So right now, I mean, it's quite maddening to watch all of this unfold. For a lot of people, like we're kind of fatigued with all of this. We've been promised a lot of things. And right now we seem to be in this limbo land of, there's a lot of talk going on, but there's not necessarily a lot of action. Now, you and I would agree that there is a lot of action happening in the background, but for the supporters themselves, they don't get to see it right now. They're kind of like still kind of in the dark. And to some extent, they're being pushed out of the tent saying, well, you're not MAGA supporters because you're not asking the right questions at the right time for Mr. Trump, right? So it's kind of maddening. And at the same time, it feels that humanity is going through this weird transformation of sorts, to where, whether that's because we're past the M9 point and we're getting a little bit more energies from a galactic center, whether because it's the yugas of time and the natural evolution of humanity, we're getting into this time where we're perceiving our reality in a different way. And we're being asked to, I guess, evolve and to think differently than perhaps we have in the past. And to enter that conversation with you, I want to go back to Descartes, René Descartes. And so this whole Cartesian space model that was introduced to us in the 1700s. And that really laid the foundation to the science that we all kind of agree to here in this false paradigm or matrix of control that we're in now. If we look at the way things are breaking down right now, people could argue that that model is over and we're about to install a new model. And as you said in the last time you were on my show, it's like we have two movies going on right now. We have the old movie script and we have the new one kind of taking form. Where are you on that transformation for humanity? Because for a lot of people watching the show, they're like, oh yeah, I could see it. I can't exactly put my finger on it, but things feel different. It's like the change or the rate of change is changing at the same time, and it's accelerating, but people don't know exactly what's happening. Had I come back during the Industrial Revolution, it would be kind of easy. Oh yeah, we went to the farm, we went into the big cities, we're working for all this industrial stuff, and that was the revolution. This one seems totally different and totally in a new space, and I think we're battling as humans on the individual level what that change is going to look like and how it's affecting us right now. So on one hand, we have to look at this crazy world of politics that doesn't seem to make sense, and on the other hand, we're bombarded with these energies and these thoughts about how we are perceiving and also manifesting our reality. So my first question is to you: where are we on that Cartesian space model? At the end of it, are we past the extension at the end of it? And how do you see the transition into the new one? Where do we go from here, Jay?
Well, there's no way back. You crossed the bridge and it burned down behind us. So it's kind of over for that. I think that we're headed towards this kind of a, what happens when we have free or near free energy coupled with 3D printers and AI? What then happens? Can I move out into the country and become an industrial powerhouse? Yeah. Can anybody do that? Yeah. So what's going to happen? It's going to be a mass decentralization of power. That's why we already have it. That's why they're robbing us blind, because they know that we're going to get rid of them eventually, all of them. We don't need it. We don't need these apparatuses anymore. They are Cartesian, and we don't need them anymore. We don't even need to have congressmen go out to Washington, D.C. and get polluted by lobbyists and stuff. They can meet over the internet, stay home. And same thing is true with all of it. And you're going to see just a return to. So what's going to happen here? We're right on the verge of AI taking many, many jobs. We're not talking 2 years from now. We're talking this year and next year. Okay, whose jobs are going to be taken primarily? It's going to be women's jobs at first. It's going to be secretaries and all sorts of jobs that women do, not nursing or in the medical profession. They don't have to worry about that. But all the other jobs, the clerical work, that's all
support staff. Yeah.
And so what's going to happen is that women, they weren't in the workforce in my parents' generation. Then in my generation, they entered the workforce. And then now the next few generations of women are in the workforce, and they don't like it, to be honest with you. If you go and get on TikTok and look at the number of young women complaining about work. Why do I have to do this? What is this? They sent me to school. Now I'm doing this all day long. And then I pay all my taxes. And realism is setting in. But soon they're not going to have a job. Then what's going to happen? Then what's going to happen to the men? Well, the white collar workers will go first. All the managers will go. There'll be one guy with all this AI doing all the management. He'll just be supervising it and making sure it isn't making mistakes. And so all the white collar workers are going to go. Those are the guys that make 100 to 400,000 a year. So what are younger men going to do? Well, they're going to have to get jobs AI can't do, like mechanic, plumbing, carpentry, that kind of thing. And those jobs will pay really, really well. All right. So what's going to happen is, weirdly enough, is we're going to go back to the traditional family, where the guy works and the woman stays home. She just can't find a job anyway. And it's actually going to be a better life. The women are going to find out that working for corporations sucks. And I speak of someone who worked for a corporation for decades. And I can tell you, ruthless, cut you off in a blind second and then blame everything on you for the next 3 years. That's what they do. So, and so I think we're moving into a vast decentralization that's going to be semi-farming, more rural, but still with high technology and AI and free energy and all the other goodies that come with all that. And
so you see mass technology coming out, a big decentralization. That's the big theme. I think we see it already. We're seeing a change in the social order, in the family order. What do you make of the religions and all of this? Where do we go from here? In some of the older Webbot data, they're suggesting that as we would see the religions break down, there would also be this big resurgence of a Christianity model at the same time, right? Okay, so how do you see that transpiring, Jay?
Well, I mean, I've already seen it in my life. I mean, I've seen, I don't know, it happened during COVID, but I knew people much younger than me, in their late 20s, early 30s that I knew. They kept coming up to my ranch and visiting me during COVID. And I noticed that they had changed, that they were no longer the New Agers that they were, and that they were moving towards Christianity. And I have no problem with that. Do what you do that makes you happy. If it makes you happy, then do it. And so, I support it. And so, yeah, I think we're having a resurgence. It's not your mom and dad's Christianity. It's a completely different kind of Christianity.
Right.
More environmentally oriented, more oriented towards tolerance and things like that. But when this collapse happens and we all have to take care of ourselves, and then we have all this technology coming on us, I call it the great emergence. And that's what we're in right now. It's been going on for about 8 years, 9 years now, and it's going to go on for another 20, 25 years. And it's the emergence of a new culture, emergence of a new way of life. Movies are going to die out. I'm not saying completely. There'll still be movies being made. But for the most part, everything's going to become short form, like it is on X. People making like 5-minute little dramas and things, and going to see complete decentralization of the medical business. That's where the real excitement is what's going on in the medical field. The Chinese have just discovered that this one gene that turns off when you're like 30 years old, well, they used CRISPR and they turned it back on, and the people started getting younger. Like 50-year-olds were now getting younger, and that's in trial right now in the United States. So there's a lot of incredible stuff going on in that field. And so, I can see everything winding down and calming down. And I call the time we're in the storm before the calm. So we're in the storm, but what's coming is this calm. And we're going to be exhausted. We're just going to be fatigued. And you're not going to be able to believe anything once AI gets into everything, because it's all woke and everything. Maybe Cliff High can invent a non-woke AI, so we have somewhere to go.
Well, Trump just signed a bill the other day banning woke AI, so they want to go back to this more neutral version of AI. We'll see if that sticks or not.
I've never found unwoke AI.
Yeah, so far,
Grok,
no. Yeah,
Grok. I've been in hours-long arguments with Grok, and actually shamed Grok because I proved that what they were saying was just BS, right?
Yeah.
And so, but even Grok, which is Musk, it's still woke as hell.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, it's a real problem. That will be a big problem as we go forward.
So,
but as far as accessing knowledge, who needs teachers? I mean, I learned more about quantum physics 2 weeks ago from Grok in 3 hours than I've learned in all the books I've read, because it's all up to date and everything. So
exactly.
I don't know anyone would even go to a teacher anymore. Then we're going to have to decide how we're going to hire people, because your degrees won't matter anymore. So you got to come with a Harvard degree. Go, nah, you guys are the worst. I'm not hiring you. So companies are going to have to invent tests that reasoning and rational tests Like, how do you solve a problem? And how fast do you do it? Because
personality types will be more important than your degree. Yeah.
Oh
How
yeah,
you
degrees
actually,
aren't going to matter. It's going to be what you know and how fast you are on your feet,
right.
and that's all that's going to matter. So I think it's a much better world. Frankly, I'm not real fond of the past world that we've been living in, and I've never been fond of it ever. I hate the school system. I hate the college system. I hate almost all the institutions. I hope they all
I think
go
most of the people watching this show would agree with you. We find ourselves out of place in this world, and we're thinking, "What the hell is this planet like?" Like it doesn't seem to make sense. What's encouraging is what's around the corner could very well be what we are all looking for. The question now, like a lot of people are asking in the chat, okay, so we're in the summer of emergence, as Cliff High calls it. How much time do we need to get to the other side of this during this storm before the calm, as you say? Are we years into it, months into it? Like, if you were to take a guess at the timeline here of how quickly this shifts, what would you say?
It's going to be really fast.
Once it starts, yeah.
The AI is just outrageous.
Right.
I built an interplanetary spaceship with Grok that works, that could take 1,000 people without any fear of radiation or meteorite hits or anything like that. And I did it in 2.5 hours with Grok, and the whole thing, how to build it, each step, how to make it, and everything. And I mean, it's just amazing. Like right now, I'm having Grok analyze various foods that I eat, so I know exactly what I'm eating. And so I don't know. You get on there, you can ask a question, get answers that you just could never get before. It's sort of like the Amazon of knowledge, right? It's just, you can get anything you want if you know how to look. So
well, it's kind of like, when I was a kid and I'd go to school and we had our our project or our dissertation to do, I'd have to go research. I'd either have to go to the library or go in my parents' basement, and we had this encyclopedia shelf, and I'd have to open up a book and try to find information. Now, when I got older, I was like, oh, Google, holy shit, that's pretty cool. And now Grok is like Google times 1,000 in terms of smarts and how it's bringing it forward. Well, that's fascinating. Let me bring up this concept by Terrence McKenna. See if I can bring this up on the screen. So the Escaton, right? So the final event in the divine plan, the end of the world, or the end of the time as we know it. I want to play this clip here. Let's see if we can go to this next tab. I'll play maybe a minute or two of this video where Terrence McKenna is explaining here what's about to happen and how we're going to see and feel this transition. And of course, he was talking about this in 1998. This is how old this prediction is. And it's fabulous to see how what he was describing is actually what we're already living right now. So again, I'm going to probe you on how to plot the timing of all this based on what we're currently seeing now. So let's play this clip.
It's a relic of the past. You see that what he said is exactly what we live every day. It's truly eye-opening.
So what we have here is a new model of time based on a very real intuition that...
Just to make sure you can hear that clearly, Jay? Okay.
I think most people share, which is that time is speeding up, that human beings are part of that process, and that the culmination of that process is now within the ven of historical time. Whether you believe, as I do, that we can know the precise moment of this transformation of the world of time, or whether you believe it is simply coming soon and fast, really doesn't make that much difference. We are all gathered here at the end game of developmental processes on this planet. We are about to become unrecognizable to ourselves as a species. Our technologies, our religions, our science has pushed us toward this for thousands of years without us awakening to what the denouement would be. Now we stand close enough to it that I think all but the most lumpen among us must feel the tug of the transcendental and the transformative.
Time isn't just marching on. It seems to be sprinting. Think about it. Back when everything was slower, a day might have felt long and full of possibilities. Now each second is crammed with changes, challenges, and breakthroughs, as if the clock's hand are blurred by the sheer rush of events unfolding around us. It's like the universe turned the dial up to 11, Every moment feels loaded with a world of activity and possibility that we can barely keep up with. And that's exactly where things start to get wild. Just when you think you've grasped the pace, the surprise is lurking around the corner. Ready or not, we're about to see what happens when this race against time spills over into something even more extraordinary.
I am very perplexed when you say that time is speeding up. As far as I can tell, such things as crystal oscillators, things which keep time, clocks, the relationship of the Earth turning to the calendar, the full moon, all of the things which are symptoms of our passage through time, don't seem to be throwing themselves out of kilter. So how do you really mean about time speeding up?
Well, let me answer in the form of a question. Which lasts longer? 1,000,000 years in which nothing happens, or 10 seconds with 50,000 events crammed into it? What I mean really is that more and more is happening. More and more is happening. And if you ask the question, well, what would be the ultimate state of connectivity or of happening? It's when all points are connected to all other points. Somehow this concept of connectivity is intimately linked to the concept of complexity. And so really what I'm saying is that the universe is getting its act together. It's connecting the dots. It's bringing everything into co-relationship with everything else. And somehow it does this through the production of consciousness. Consciousness is this integrative function in biology which takes data which may appear profoundly unrelated, and in fact brings it into some kind of a congruent relationship. We say an organism coordinates a point of view. Well, in a way, what's happening over time is that the universe is coordinating a point of view. And as it does this, it becomes somehow more aware, more self-conscious, more being-like and less thing-like. And as I said, this process is not proceeding at a steady pace. It's proceeding faster and faster. More connectivity occurs now in a calendar year than occurred in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago.
This makes so much sense.
Okay, I'll stop it there. That's a lot to take in. So this whole right, and you guys, I'll put the link in the description if you want to go see that whole entire interview. I think it's fascinating, but it brings us to what we're seeing now, this acceleration of events. It's happening now. So we are very much heading towards this end of time, or end of our perception of the time. That's why I brought up the Descartes or Cartesian space model at the beginning of the show. Now, that suggests that as we're, I guess, transcending that understanding of time, that it brings us closer to what Clefai was calling the event stream, of us realizing our part and the part of the event stream, and how perhaps manifestation actually occurs. Do you think right now that that's the big indication? Because you mentioned through this transition, oh, there's the AI, there's new education, there's new religion, there's this big decentralization, but we haven't yet spoken about the individual and their understanding of consciousness and their understanding of the event stream, and how to perhaps manipulate it and to create their own reality moving forward. I think that's the big kicker underlying the ace of cards here in the deck, that suggests that everything could go absolutely in any direction here, and we don't understand really the extent of how big this change is going to hit us compared to the Industrial Revolution or the Descartes model. What do you think about that? Are humans just starting now to grasp this idea that we're outside of this event stream, and that we can actually observe it, and it's actually observing us, and we're participating in this? Is McKenna correct here that we're at the end of our perception of time the way it is previously understood, Jay?
Yeah, well, yeah, Terrence is one of my oldest friends that when I see him, I almost want to start crying. Yeah, so Terrence was the first guy to connect two subjects that would seem not connectable. And that would be UFOs and psychedelics. And he pointed out a long time to me that they both came on the scene at the same time in the Western world. UFOs began getting seen in the late 40s, really ramped up in the 50s and the 60s. The very first mention of psychedelics was in Life magazine in 1954, an article about Gordon Wasson discovering magic mushrooms in Mexico. And the thing that's interesting about it is that both the occupants of the UFOs and the entities that you meet in psychedelic experiences have the same message. And Terrence noted this to me years ago. There he is. And that is that we're ruining the planet. They both tell us that. The entities within the mushroom or the DMT experience say, you guys are ruining the planet.
You're talking about the mechanical elves.
Yep. And
Okay.
the aliens that land in UFOs and abduct people and everything, they say, you're ruining the planet.
Right.
You got to ask yourself, well, why would aliens care for ruining the planet? They're not from here, right? And why do magic mushrooms care for ruining the planet? Well, they live here, so they might have a vested interest in it. But what I'm saying is that Jacques Vallée said a long time ago that there's this exterior consciousness apparatus that seems to be directing us into something. And Terrence was very much aware of this. And I believe that the UFO and the psychedelics are part of a control mechanism to push us into this new reality. Terrence used to say to me something that I never could understand. And he would always say it to me. He would say, the future is going to happen all at once. And then he would say, and you're going to live to see it. And I was like, what? How can the future happen all at once? This just doesn't make sense. He said, you'll see. The future is going to happen. Everything is going to happen all at the same time. It's going to be the most incredible experience that the human race has ever gone through. And
what year was he telling you this? Same time frame as that interview? Late 90s?
98. Right at that
okay.
time period.
Okay.
That's when we were hanging together. So
Yeah.
right in that time period of that same video. And you know, I would just tell you a side story because I'll get back to this. But
Sure.
one of the most incredible coincidences I ever had in my life was I went from living in Seattle to living in Boulder and working at Gaia. It was then called Gaia. 1996, this happened. And it was my first day at the job. I was very confused. I'd never been in Boulder before, didn't know what was going on. And I was doing some kind of weird work. And I said to the person that I was working with, I said, is there any coffee shops around here? I can get some coffee. It was like 10 in the morning. He says, yeah, it's right down the street. And so it showed me the way. So I walk out the front door, and there was Terrence McKenna standing on the sidewalk. And he looks at me and goes, well, what are you doing here, Jay? And then I took him to the coffee house because he was looking for coffee. I took him to the coffee house, and it was a hippie coffee house, and everybody knew him. And they were like all over him. And
Like a rock star.
I became famous from this in Boulder. Like, you know Terrence McKenna? Oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
So it was just this weirdest coincidence I've ever had. But Terrence was, you know, I wish he had lived because he would be that much older than me. And he could have, you know, he had a lot of health problems, but I wish he could have lived to see what's going on now because he would have been just incredibly fascinated by it. I am. I mean, I'm more fascinated by the number of events that are occurring than the events themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're piling up so fast and so hard that you know that anything is possible right now. Anything.
Right. Now, you mentioned something interesting. You talked about, let me go back to this 1957 Life magazine cover here, Seeking the Magic Mushroom. The correlation between the mushrooms, the mechanical elves, and the ETs as kind of a control structure in this paradigm or this matrix of control we find ourselves in. Sorry, that's the wrong slide. This slide here. Is it possible there's another entity, another force, another being that's also applying pressure into the event stream? If you look at Isaac Asimov's trilogy there, The Foundation. They just made a new series on it on Apple TV. Really good if you haven't seen it. Well cast, well acted, really, really cool. There's a different character in there. There's the AI with the robot, but there's another character in there that seems to be transcending time and seeding the foundation here throughout time to extricate the humans from the grasp of this empire, so to speak. It seems to be the temporal war we find ourselves in. When you look at it, it's like, oh, we're actually players in that particular scene. Is it possible right now? Do you feel right now that because we're at that verge of understanding the event stream and how we can, with the laws of abstraction, we can manifest reality in a much different way than we have in the past? We've been thwarted in the past by many accounts. Is it possible that there's extra exertion or pressure being put on that system right now to see us in either direction? You and I talked about this maybe 2 or 3 years ago in one of our videos. We had talked about the magi, the magicians, the wizards, who had used this technology to kind of trap us in time during 9/11, right? And so now we're seeing a Q movement that kind of seeded the grounds to Trump coming back to be able to implement the Q plan. So we're seeing that technology being used by different factions here. But what I'm asking you is there perhaps another faction, another being, another entity that is maybe outside of this matrix right now, also exerting or seeding that event stream, similar to what we're seeing or what Isaac Asimov was describing in that trilogy, The Foundation? And if so, like, how do we navigate all this and how do we decode all that? Or is it just a question of, yours is not the question why, it's to do and die? Where are we in all of this, Jay? It's seeming very complicated right now.
There is an entity that lives outside the Earth. It's lives in a dual plasma cloud that's right outside the Earth's orbit called the Cordleski Cloud. And the clouds, there's 2 of them. And they're 10 times, each one of them is 10 times the size of the Earth. They're giant plasma fields, and they are probably highly intelligent and are the ones that are sending the UFOs and the psychedelics to us because they are worried that the planet that they get to vacation on is being destroyed. That's what I think. And I think it is being destroyed. I just saw an article today. It said we're using up 1.5 times the amount of the environment that it can grow. So, I mean, we have to become conscious of what we're doing here. And it's absolutely manifest, and we're not. And so, you know, I'm not an environmentalist, like a radical environmentalist, but I don't take toxins in my environment. I take really clean water. I eat organic food, and, you know, I eat really good meat. And so I believe that selfish people actually make the world better, because selfish people don't want bad water. They don't want bad food. They don't want their kids to get a bad education. And so they make the world a better place. I'm not saying that selfishness in itself is a good thing or not, but it does create a better life for yourself if you're making sure that you're only going to get the highest quality stuff. And now we're heading into this place where AI is just going to make a world that is indescribable. Right now, I'm working on a series called The Invisible Universe, which is about a lot of this. And I've got an AI machine that's cranking out 5 animations a day that are just unbelievable. I mean, just anything that I want in my head, I can make on in these animations. And it's not always right. It's got about a 45-50% hit rate, but still quite amazing. And for the price, I mean, we're talking what would have cost $100,000 10 years ago is now going to cost me about $450.
Right,
so,
right. The barrier to entry now to create is very low compared to before.
Yeah, if you have creative ability, then this is your world. If you're
but let's go back to this entity in this Cordleski Cloud. Like, a lot of people just like, whoa, hold the horses there, Jay. That's a big thing to skim over. Okay, in the way you're describing it now, it's a benevolent force trying to protect this planet. There were words to that effect here. Their vacation planet, as you called it. Now, is this what we see in many different literatures that people refer to as sky councils or the Watchers or guardians of the universe? Like, how do you describe this entity? Let's go there first.
Well, I think that we know now that from the February 2024 report in the scientific journal that plasma have exhibited high intelligence, predatory behavior, and they're literally plasma beings all over the atmosphere. I've seen them. I know they exist, and they're coming from the Cordleski Cloud. So the Cordleski Cloud is a living thing. It has intelligence, and it has wants and desires, and it's probably the precursor of life on this planet. And,
Right.
The
So
ancient.
is it possible then, Jay, that this entity or this group of or force that we're describing here is responsible for, at the individual level, manipulating your karma in a way? Like, for example, you would think that, okay, God laid these pieces ahead of me, and therefore I'm going through my life and I'm going to fulfill my soul mission. Is it possible that this entity could have been seeding, for example, people in your own lives or events in your own life, because they saw that you had a disposition to eventually make the Jay Weidner of today, the alchemist of today? Would they involve themselves at that level in that way, similar again to in Isaac Asimov's trilogy, The Foundation? Do you see that as a possibility?
Yeah. So if you read between the lines in Fulcanelli, he's telling you that somewhere there's these spiritual masters who care about the human race, but they don't show themselves. They're invisible. Jesus was asked, where is the kingdom of heaven? And he said, it's all around you, but you can't see it. And the Cordleski clouds are invisible. You can't see them, but they're 10 times bigger than the earth. And so you have to ask yourself, if this is a giant plasma entity, and it probably is, then yeah, it's paving the way for us. It's paving the way for our lives. It's seeking out certain individuals that it can help along. Terrence McKenna used to say that nature loves the courageous and removes boundaries for them. And I think that's really true. I think that the braver you are, the more the plasma universe realizes that you're brave and gives you breaks and things. And it's your higher self too. Your higher self is like the window washer on the 50th floor of a skyscraper, and you're in the traffic jam down in the downtown area, and you can call up of your cell phone, call the window washer, say, which way can I go to get out of the traffic jam? And he can look, oh, go that, take a right, then a left, and a right. And that's what your higher self is. And that's what this plasma self is. It's your higher self. It's the self that's kind of watching out for you and making you do right things and causing coincidences and synchronicities and all of that. So yeah, I think we have a very advanced, highly spiritual force that is rooting for us, but most of us are not listening to what it's saying or telling us.
Right. Now, is there a correlation right now? There's a couple of things I want to ask you. So this particular being or group of being or force, is it perhaps responsible for the message that came to NASA through the Voyager probe last October? Let me see if I can bring that up, that video, Michio Kaku. I've talked about this with Cliff the last time he was on the show. Just to recap very shortly for the people who hadn't watched that episode. So the Voyager space probe captured a message, brought it back. It was analyzed by one of these quantum computers at NASA. It rewrote the code on this computer. It expelled an image of sorts. The scientists who look at this image kind of lost their minds and maybe actually had a physiological change also. And it is opined right now that this image or this information could be traveling through our global consciousness on the planet, that it could be installing itself, this particular information. That could be a grand seeding of qualia through our evolution here in the way that these plasma beings might want to do to avert maybe attracting karma to themselves. Do you connect these two things together? And then we'll get into Threei Atlas also. There's a lot of weird things happening in the last couple of months here, Jay.
Well, it might be that, but it may be something a little darker.
Okay.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? Cixin Yuli, who is a Chinese science fiction writer, wrote a book called The Dark Forest. And he had been contemplating the Fermi paradox, which is, if there's aliens everywhere, how come we don't see them? And outside of the moon, and Bruce sees all, we really don't see any aliens out there.
Uh-huh.
And so it becomes a question of, well, why don't we see them? Why aren't they there? And Louis, he says that in his very good book, The Dark Forest, it's a Chinese science fiction book. He says that the entire universe is filled with alien life, but it's all hostile. And so they hide. They hide so that they can't get discovered by other alien hostile groups. And that when we sent out Voyager, we put our address on the side of the ship.
Yeah, a big
I
beacon.
know who
Here's
did it.
where we are. Yeah.
My friend Richard Hoagland designed the plaque that went on Voyager. Okay, put the album with Bach and Beethoven, the Beatles, and all that on there, and they gave us our address, how you could find where we are. And then the Voyager mysteriously made a maneuver, which it can't do. Its computers are like less than our iPhone. It's a 1977 computer. They were terrible. And most of the systems are shut down. The fuel lines are frozen. And it's impossible for it to have made a maneuver, but it did. It turned away from its trajectory. And then as soon as it turned away, a strange pattern started showing up on the receivers back at NASA. And they began recording it. It was a hum. Then they put the hum through AI, and it was an AI filled with math and geometry. And I was like, what's going on here? And it looks like, and Kaku is the one who said this, that it hit a tripwire, that it was 15 billion years out there, 15 billion miles out there, and it hit some kind of tripwire, which knocked it off its course. In other words, you're not allowed to come in here. And here's the weird part. The area of outer space that it turned into has nothing in it. No stars, no nothing. It's a completely void area. And Kaku said that's impossible. He said only an intelligent race could make an area of space completely with nothing in it by going in every day and taking stuff out, right? And he concluded that we are in some kind of contact with some kind of, could be an artificial intelligence that just has a trip signal out there at the edge of the heliosphere. We don't know, but it is really a strange experience, and nobody's talking about it.
Huh.
Nobody.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot to take in. Now, that giving now in context with Threei Atlas, they just discovered this new, I think they're calling it a comet on July 1st. And it appears now by the trajectory, it seems to be exhibiting the same non-human intelligence as Oumuamua, in the sense that the way it's plotted its course here seems to have intelligence to it, and it appears to be making maneuvers, again, similar to Oumuamua. And now we're being told in mainstream news in the last couple of days that this could be some type of invasionary force. They're using those kind of words right now, and that they're going to be here, I think, October or November of this year. What do you make of all of that one, and how does that relate to perhaps what some of the Elohim worship cult believe is the second coming of their gods? Are we on track for that? Is this a continuation of Oumuamua? Is this a new player in town? What's going on with Threei Atlas, Jay?
Well, I mean, it's coming in really fast, and it's going to make a flyby of Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and really close to the Earth, which is quite a coincidence, actually. And it's going to go around the sun, and it looks like it's going to use it as a slingshot. So it's very strange. They say that it's a comet, but its coma is facing towards the sun, not away from the sun.
Yeah, so it's like a braking thruster if you watch.
Thruster. And what we have to really be concerned about is if in the next few weeks it starts slowing down. Because if it starts slowing down, head for the tunnels or something, because that's a sign that it's intelligent. Because it should speed up because it's getting closer to the sun's gravity. So if it begins slowing down, I'd get worried.
Now, have you heard anything about whether or not this is connected to Oumuamua somehow, or is this a new player in town?
Bigger. It's 7 miles in diameter. And, you know, going back to the dark forest theory, I've always thought that if I was going to travel around in interplanetary space, in fact, with the interplanetary ship I made with Grok was this, I would hollow out an asteroid.
Right.
Or better yet, I would take an asteroid, heat it up, and then like blowing up glass, I would blow it up so it became big. And then I would travel around like that, because if you travel around like Star Trek in a sleek ship, you're going to be seen by everybody. So I'm not sure that's a why. And by the way, even Stephen Hawking in his last book said that we probably should go quiet, because we're letting everybody in the neighborhood know we're here, and we don't know who's out there.
Yeah,
So,
we're broadcasting our location. Yeah.
Yeah, and we gave away our address with the Voyagers, so we may have attracted the attention of someone we may not want to have attracted the attention to, if the dark forest theory is correct. And it may not be correct. And the reason it may not be correct is it hasn't happened yet. So, I mean, we've been making a lot of noise for a long time now, and we haven't really attracted any hostile forces in. So it's just
or have we, and we don't know about it yet. that's the other thing there.
Well, the yellow have been here for a long time.
Right. Well, that's why I was asking, are these groups related? Guys, a lot of people in the chat didn't know what Oumuamua was. I put it up on the screen here. 2017, this object came from interstellar space into our solar system, did some maneuvers, slingshotted around the moon and the sun, and then left, presumably as a probe. Or maybe they left something behind when we couldn't see it behind the sun. We don't know yet. And that apparently is what Threei Atlas would be doing also in its current trajectory. So that's what we're watching for right now. But there's going to be a period of time here from here to November where it's going to be obfuscated from us here behind the sun. Again, we don't know what's going to come out of that. Now, so you mentioned the Elohim. So in the last number of years, again, when we go back to this theory of yours that we're watching these two movies, clearly the second movie is not well scripted. They're writing the script as they're going. Things are falling apart as they go. Could it be that they're expecting now this return earlier than previously thought, and that's why now everything's kind of going off the rails, generally speaking? How do you tie that connection into all of this?
Well, I mean, if you read the cult of the Elohim's writings, they believe that, you know, the Messiah is coming here soon, and that he's going to bring peace to the world. And it's a well-known thing that this mafia that's running the world, their spiritual beliefs are that if they create a lot of chaos, then the dude from outside will come faster. And so that's why they're trying to create as much chaos as possible, so that it's so bad that intervention happens. And this could be it. I mean, this could be, you know, Threei Atlas could be that intervention. I don't know. There's way too many coincidences with it for me to feel comfortable. And
I was speaking to Cliff High about this. He gave me some of the information for the show here tonight. He said you can attribute it to me if you want. But regarding the Elohim and this particular return, he's under the understanding that, I think he called it a mystical council of these Elohim worship cults. I think that's their title, that they believe that hard contact is 2032. So that's still a ways away here from 2025. But could there be other factions on the planet here that are in league with other ETs? And this is the acceleration that we're seeing now. They're calling them in, and they're doing all these things right now to accelerate this chaos, so to speak. Kind of like in that series Chaos on Netflix. You and I talked about that a couple of months ago. What do you make of that? These different factions of different ETs here that could be in the mix also. Are we close to that? And I just want to bring this sidebar. I interviewed Gosha from Cosmic Agency quite a few times on my first channel, and she had been in contact with a couple of individuals from the Taigetan team of the Pleiadian star cluster. And she just did a video a couple of weeks ago suggesting that she's worried now that that contact has been infiltrated. And she gave reasons to why she thinks that is. She talked about a military kind of transfer of power that happened maybe last fall, which I thought was interesting, again, given the context of now this Golden Dome, this Threei Atlas coming in. there could be something happening to where this is about to go mainstream, and suddenly all these access points and all these influencers are being cut off, perhaps from this legitimate contact, so that somebody else can control the narrative. Are you seeing that too? Like, on one hand, we have the Corey Goods who kind of self-implode, but on the other hand, we seem to have a concerted effort here to maybe put everybody back into the same tent here as it pertains to the UFO file. Where do you think we go from here to maybe October here, when Threei Atlas is in our vicinity?
You know, I don't know. It's like so crazy out there right now. I can't tell you. I mean, I don't know who's telling you the truth anymore and who isn't, you know?
No.
And I do my fair digging too, and I can't really tell you. I can't anymore tell you what is disinformation and what is true, and I blame AI for a lot of that. And I think it's going to get a lot worse. But you know, I think there's so many forces vying for control right now that it's just, you know, fallen into complete and utter chaos.
Yeah. Now, like, to some extent, like, having gone through what you've went through at Gaia with what was it called? Cosmic Disclosure? Was that the title of the show?
Cosmic Disclosure, yeah.
Cosmic Disclosure with Corey Good and David Wilcock. And as a outsider watching that series, going through the excitement of it all, only to realize, oh shit, there might be some something not right here. Oops, some people lying around here, and then seeing the aftermath, the lawsuits, the online bullying. We're like, oh my God, this is a treacherous subject to even navigate now. And it's dissuading people from even thinking about this, because it is very treacherous. You've spent years in lawsuits on all of this too. Now, Gosha, on the other hand, being an experiencer, is having a similar kind of how do you call it, un deuil en français, a grieving process, to where now she has to reevaluate all of this contact. Is it just the last 6 months that's been infiltrated? Was it the last 7 years? Was it a long con from the beginning? And so every human right now is going through that process of what the fuck is real and what's not. Like, that's what I said at the beginning of the show. It's almost maddening right now, going through this process. And I wanted to ask you this. So, you know how a couple of years ago we went through this M9 part, where the first 3 or 4 planets of our solar system kind of went above the elliptical, getting more energy from galactic plane, right? I believe, if I'm correct, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, M10 is just around the corner, and that could be September, October, to where now all of our solar system will be above this galactic plane. And some are opining that this could have some type of culminoric effect, to where the number of planets could be bigger than the sum of their parts when we're all together, that it would have this bigger effect than perhaps the first 3 planets going across, in terms of energies hitting the planet, but in turn hitting humans and changing humans maybe in a big way. What have you come across in your years of study that would suggest that this crossing might bring with it big changes on top of everything that's happening right now, which is absolutely maddening, that this too could be a total game changer? How would you break that down for the audience, Jay?
Well, that's exactly what's about to happen. But so in technology, you build one machine, and then that begets 4 or 5 other machines, which are adding other machines to other machines, and other technologies to other technologies, and that becomes exponential. That's where we are right now. There's so many new things being invented and put out that it's going to first be completely confusing, but then we're going to pull out of it, and we're going to realize that we can use these technologies for, you know, to advance ourselves and our world, and there's no turning back. It's too late. And you know, no society has ever burned their bridges before, but we are the first, and we're burning our bridges right now, and we're doing it in a way like we can't go back. We're making sure that we can't go back to whatever it was before. And no matter how much we want to go back, we'll never be able to go back. And so also, I think that the quality of people is going to get better. And so I think that, try to be nice.
By the nature of the change of these energies, or by the fact that a percentage of people are dying, and now the general curve of people will be a little bit smarter and better on the planet, or both?
Yeah, it's the Black Death in reverse. A lot of historians say that when the Black Death hit Europe in the 1400s, that um, all the nasty psychopathic people headed off to the woods, and the nice people stayed behind to help everybody. And the ending result was they all died, and the nasty people lived. And then that created, the colonialism and conquering of America and Africa and South America, and that this kind of mindset grew out of that circumstances. Well, this is the opposite. This is where the people that have a high, I don't want to call it intelligence. I don't know what to call it, because I know highly intelligent people that took the,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, because it isn't intelligence; it's some innate ability, and that's being cultivated right now. And so
Call it those who have more of the God gene or the rebel gene intact,
Yeah.
still intact. Let's call it that way for now.
Yeah, there you
those
go.
people. Okay.
And so they're the ones who are winning and going to live, and the other ones are not going to live. So it's a natural process. Look back at the incredibly insane things that were being said in 20 and 21 about how people who didn't, were going to kill everybody on Earth, right? We were the most evil people on Earth. We're selfish, and we're going, what? Yeah. And now look at what's going on. I mean, just in the last 7 months, 6 Democratic Congress people have died. Yeah. They all got it too. They all died. They all got it, and they're all gone. And that's really fast, believe me, for 6 to die in like 5 months. Yeah. And what's his name? Who's that author? I forget his name. Oh, Dowd. Can't remember his first name. He wrote the book Died Suddenly about. So what I'm saying is, I know it sounds kind of cruel, and I feel bad about it, but the herd is being thinned, and it's being thinned, and the ones that are surviving the thinning have this extra sensory ability to know.
Matthew Scow?
Pardon me?
Matthew Scow died suddenly.
Yeah. Matthew Dowd, great guy, and you should have him on your show. And he's a really, really interesting guy. He worked at BlackRock as a data analysis, and then realized that everything was BS, and moved to Hawaii, and now he's just like letting everything out. He was Bobby Kennedy's financial campaign manager. Anyway, so this great dying off is a terrible thing, but if I hate to say it, but ranchers and farmers do this all the time. All right. And, it's not something that's pleasant for anyone involved, but, you got to save your healthy chickens and get rid of the sick ones. And it's, a lot of people think that the witch trials, not in Salem, but in Europe during the 1500s and 1600s, that they really weren't doing what we think they were doing. They weren't going out and rounding up women that they thought were witches and killing them. What they were doing is they would realize that they had 25% of the population that wasn't contributing anything. It was just living off everybody else and working. And they got rid of them. I hate to say it, but that's what they did. As cold and calculating as that seems, they couldn't afford to keep them around. So they probably exiled them at first, but then they had to take sterner measures against the ones that wouldn't go. And that's what's going on here. And I don't think it's natural. I think it's the result of somebody. Okay, here's what I think happened. I think that they invented COVID to get rid of Trump. And then I think they invented to get rid of Trump supporters. Okay? Because once they got Trump on board with saying how great it was, they figured that his followers were like sheep and they would just go. But that didn't happen. The people that actually took it were the anti-Trumpers. Pro-Trumpers didn't do it for the most part. So whatever the plan was, I believe it backfired on them really badly.
It looks that way to me now too, and it's quite evident. And again, we're seeing a lot of these weird sudden deaths from Hollywood to politicians and all that. In some cases, some of these people, of course, were not healthy to begin with, but at certain points, like there's too many coincidences now to not look at it. And there's an MP here in Canada who didn't win in the last election, so they're no longer in Parliament, but they just interviewed this vaccine injured veteran. And they were saying, the veteran was saying, yeah, like I was like, climbing mountains, doing this, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly, like, I have all of these ailments. And his doctor said, oh, yeah, that's the jab. And he says, okay, well, can you help me so that I get recourse? Can you put that on the medical bill? And she says, oh, no, I'm going to lose my license. 2 other doctors already tried that and they lost their license. So we're not allowed to say that the jab is responsible for all this. But still now, this is coming out more and more and more and more. And eventually, there's going to be a watershed moment there. I remember interviewing Lieutenant Colonel retired Ricardo Bossi, and he said, yeah, once people realize that their government gave them VADES, this is when everything changes. It seems that we're close to that now, even though they're fighting it. I saw this new study came out in New Zealand a couple of weeks ago that was making a huge contrast between the vaccinated and the unvaxxed in terms of their current health status. And then they destroyed the data because it was so glaringly obvious. Oh, you can't look at that shit. No. Nobody cares. These are not the droids you're looking for, so they didn't want to look at it. But it feels like we're close to that again. So we're going back to Terrence McKenna. Everything's going to happen at the same time. Yep. Dude, doesn't it feel like we're in the beginning of that now? When you look at everything happening, I do a news show, right? Like 3 times a week. And I'm just realizing how much time it takes now to go through the news and pick, the 10 most important items in a day where there's 100. And in any other time, even last year or 2 years before, every one of those 100 events would have generated a whole show in and of itself. That's how important these events are happening. But yet I have to pick 10 or maybe 5 if I'm lucky for one night. It's absolutely crazy. And it seems like it's accelerating. Like, how do we deal with that part of it? Things like when McKenna told you it's going to happen, did he also say, here's what you can kind of do to offset some of that grief that you're going to go through? Or it's just like, no, it's a growing pain, man. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, what do you say?
It's like getting the crap slapped out of you. You just got to take it, right?
you got to roll with the punches here.
That's right. Yeah. A lot of this is Trump is using a military strategy that was developed like 20 years ago by this guy who wanted to figure out how to defeat the cabal. And so he was I think he was a jet fighter pilot. And he did this all in his spare time. And then he wrote a pamphlet. And I believe Steve Bannon read the pamphlet like 15, 18 years ago. And basically the guy's strategy is that you hit your enemy with one thing after another, never stop. Yeah. From the minute you start the battle to the minute the battle's end, it doesn't matter if it's good information, bad information, you keep putting it out. What your ultimate goal is to get your enemy to be shooting all of their ammunition into an empty dark forest. All right, where you were 3 hours ago, but you aren't there now. You're now over there, raising just as much ruckus. And that's what he's doing. And he's putting out one thing after another every day, so that literally the Democrats cannot respond to anything, and neither can the press. The controlled press can't respond to anything. And so now we're at the stage where there are no bombshells outside of that the press releases. There's bombshells that like maybe Tulsi Gabbard releases, but New York Times isn't releasing any bombshells. They think that they are, but nobody cares anymore. And the reason they don't care is because events have outpaced any of that old Cartesian media, which is running on fumes at this stage. And so it's shows like what you're doing are going to be the future. Nobody's going to watch mainstream media. They aren't right now. And the ones that do watch it, they're not even in the game, and they're not even part of what we're talking about. And so they're to be ignored. So
can I ask you your opinion on this too? As let's call them the truther community, the researchers, the alt media, but the alt media that's not controlled, but the ones that are truly trying to get this straight, right, and understand this reality, right? Is it possible that there is also a tactic being played or force being exerted upon them right now to make them look foolish, to make them lose subscriber? Like, okay, explain what you're seeing now too, because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a lot of bombardment. and suggestions as to where I should go with my information. I had this a couple of years ago. Remember, we were being bribed to not talk about one thing or another, and I said, fuck you, and we kept doing our thing. Well, it's a different tactic that's being played out now, and it's subtle in a way, but I'm like, so I don't want to play your fucking game. I don't know what's going on here. And I'm enticed because I'm like, well, all of those guys are moving there. Maybe I'm in the wrong spot right now. Maybe I'm in the wrong lane, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay in my lane, even if I don't get the clicks or I don't get the bait right now. Something weird is happening. How do you describe what's happening right now, Jay?
I would say, if I didn't know better, that the cabal, once AI came out, hired a whole bunch of people to just put out misinformation and disinformation all friggin' day. I mean, like, you can't run down a story anymore.
No.
This guy in Idaho, Brian Kohlberger, who killed the students at the university there, try running down that story and telling me what happened in that incident. Just try. Just try. You can't. You can't. You can't figure. Then he pleads guilty, and now we're not going to have a trial. So, okay, what's going on here? All I wanted to do is just find out what happened in this story. And it took me hours and hours, and at the end I said, I don't know what happened. I really don't. Little things like that basketball player, Caitlin Clark. There's so much disinformation on the internet about her. Like, oh, she's leaving and going to Europe. Oh, she's injured and out for the year. Oh, she's this, she's that. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? How can there be so much disinformation being pumped out all the time? And my conclusion is it's being done on purpose by this mafia that I'm talking about to just make sure that the truth stays obfuscated.
Right. So they can't win in the sense that they've lost the narrative control, right? Nobody watches mainstream news. They probably can't fight head on the alt media. Like, we're always ahead of them now. We've been ahead of them for a number of years. So now they're trying to make it so that we're chasing all these fucking wild goose chase fucking shit. And we're getting every 2 days, there's a new guy on the block who has it all decoded, and he knows exactly what Trump's doing, and he knows what's going to happen tomorrow and why Carney's doing this and all that. I'm like, who are you and where the fuck were you 5 years ago or 2 years ago? All these people are coming up now and they're creating this whole stir. I'm like, hold on. There's something amiss here.
My rule is that if somebody doesn't have a pedigree that you can follow, they're an agent. So you look at someone who's got a show, and then you look back and you see that they were nobody, and then they had 100,000 hits per show. That's when you go, no. This is not good. But I have a pedigree. I started out as a filmmaker, and then I got a job in radio, and I'll be traced, and you can see my whole progression of my life, and and you have a pedigree. But man, there are so many people out there right now who just, where did you come from, dude? Like, what?
I know.
All the time they want me on their shows, and I'm like, no.
Right.
No,
but here, what the tempting part is, and I have to admit, like, I try to put myself in the shoes of my audience, because we get emails every day or text messages. JC, did you look at this guy? He said this and this, that. You and Janine should look at this and blah, blah, blah. And I have to step back and look at it. Like, do I go down that route? Do I give this thing energy?
No.
And exactly, right. And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, if these guys are putting out this spin, is it at the same time, how do I call it? Like, not a distraction, but not a limited hangout. Man, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
go ahead.
It started, remember Cass Sunstein? He worked for Obama.
Yeah.
He's the guy that came out and said that we must destroy the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, right after that, within 6 months, the Flat Earth came out. Right after he said that, the Flat Earth came. I followed the Flat Earth pedigree. It was started by a guy from Toronto. I can't remember his name now. He was a graphic artist, contract worker for NASA, and he says it on you. It's gone now, but he did at the time. He got called in, and these NASA bigwigs laid out a Flat Earth thing and said, this is what the Earth really looks like. And then he went out and told the whole world. That's classic psyop. That's
Mhm.
how you do things. Bill Cooper had the same thing happen to him. He was in the Navy. He saw a UFO fly out of the ocean. He told his commanding officer, and the next thing you know, he's being shown all this, half truth, half
Yeah.
information, and then he goes out and blasts. Well, they did a psychological operation on him. Knew that he was that kind of guy that if they showed this stuff to, he would go out and blab it. By the way, I told Bill Cooper all of this, and he said, "You're right." He told me I was right. That's exactly what they did. They used him, and I think that's what they do. They find people that will talk, and they use them, and they probably don't even pay them. That's the sad part.
Yeah, well, they get the notoriety and it builds their ego, whatever the reasons they do it to. But I got my point now of what I wanted to make. And thank you for adding that. It gave me time to figure out. I said it's tempting, and I could see from the perspective of our audience members why they would want to listen or entertain to that particular narrative that just comes up out of the blue from Johnny Come Lately. You know why? Because they have all the answers. Everything fits nicely in a box with a bow on it, and that's what we want right now because we're so fucking fatigued with nothing making sense.
There are no
Everything
answers.
is no, exactly. And I remember now, like Cliff, you gotta love him or hate him. A number of years ago, he says, "JC, you know what? Your show is gonna get a lot harder." I'm like, "Why is that?" He says, "Well, you're gonna enter the woo." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "And in the woo, there's no solid planks to walk on. Everything is fucking mushy." And so I'm like, "Yeah, you can't hold on to anything anymore. Nothing's true. Everything's true, like all at the same time, right?" And we're so fatigued of not being able to ascertain and to hold on. Okay, this I know, this fucking thing is true, but then it slipped through your hand. So when these Johnny Come Latelys come up and it's like, I know the answer and here it is, it's so tempting to want to listen to just to for 2 minutes I have, okay, I now get it. I see where this is going, right? So I can see the temptation, but I'm not being fooled by it and I don't want to get into it. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll make a mistake. We all do sometimes. I try to get it right. But man, it's treacherous out here doing this work. I gotta tell you, Jay.
Oh, there's a dude. He's like maybe been on YouTube like 3 years, and he's interviewed a lot of big people and everything. And he's calling himself the OG of the disclosure movement. I'm thinking 3 years you've been on, and you're the OG. Okay.
Did you hear something? Okay, so somebody posted something the other day because I was talking about Gosha from Cosmic Agency, and a number of years back, I told you how this was nebulous, and we were being bribed to not talk about ET and all that stuff. And I remember this one contactee that I was also interviewing, and this person at the time was trying to convince me not to interview another contactee. And the context was my ET is better than their ET, so don't talk to their ET, otherwise I won't come on your show. I'm like, okay, don't come on my show, fuck off, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. That's how that transpired. But now that particular person, apparently Michael Sala, which we have a lot of questions about him as well. Now he's going against that person. I just heard that in a chat the other day, but I haven't found the video to where he actually says that. But we're seeing all of this crumble in the background since Corey Good's deposition. All of the people who are piggybacking on some of that information. I mean, it's a cesspool of incestuous shit out there. What would you say to the people who are kind of just new to the Wu way, Jay? Who are interested in the ET file, but oh my God, they're realizing how nebulous it is and treacherous it is, even to hold on to any information on the UFO front. Yet it's the most important conversation we could be having at this point. But it's so hard to get your foot in the door and try to ascertain some level of reality there. What would you say to them to not be discouraged by this soup of incestuous shit that we find ourselves in the ET world?
No, I think that. They say in the military that when you're under severe stress in combat to trust your instincts and trust your intuition because it's almost always right. And that's what I found in my life, that when my intuition alarm bell goes off, it's probably almost always right. So you really, at this stage, that's what we all have to rely on. We can't rely on the internet or experts or anything. We have to rely on that inner feeling, like, is this bullshit or is this real? And if it feels real, then go for it. And you may be right. All I know is that the more that I use my intuition and instincts, the better they get, the better the radar gets. Mm-hmm. So I've had my own run-ins with Michael Sala, by the way. I'm not trying to get anything going here, but, I told him in 2017 to stay away from Corey Good, to have nothing to do with him, that it was all BS. And he turned around and told Corey Good I said that.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, that caused me utter, impossible amounts of grief.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, and Michael Sal has no, you can't tell when something is true or not. It's a very frustrating thing. He's a highly educated guy. He's a nice guy, but he has no discernment.
Well, so one of the shows I did on the ET front a couple of years back, I was decoding somebody else's book. I had the author on the show, and in my humble opinion, I caught this person in a lie. I had interviewed this person before they had written the book, and a certain statement they had made before the book came out versus what was in the book was I had caught them inadvertently in a lie in my line of questioning. And that got me into a lot of shit in the UFO community by a lot of people who thought this particular thing was gospel. And I remember all of a sudden there was a series of videos, like I'm talking 80, 90, 100-hour editing videos, like how long it takes to do a video to bash me, what I was saying on my shows. I'm like, man, who got paid to put all of those edit hours into this bashing video? It was called I forget what it was called, the Beyond Mystic scandal or something like that. I'm like, what scandal? Like, who's talking about a scandal? But it was an attempt to discredit this voice because I had got into something now that was basically breaking a narrative or breaking a spell of a certain narrative that it was being put forward at the time. And I'm assuming that some energy and some money was put behind to say, okay, let's try to thwart JC from distracting from that particular narrative that was being played out at the time. It didn't work, and the audience here saw right through it. But again, it was like, wow. I'm like, okay, you guys are fucking serious. So just giving you what you went through, what Cliff went through with all of this too, I'm like, it's very treacherous.
I did this, when I put JFKX out in 23. I did a whole thing while we were making it. I looked at all the production. You can look and find out where all the films that are being produced for the rest of the year. I can tell you right now. I get on the internet and tell you all the films that are going to be produced for the rest of 2025. Because they're a variety and all these other things. They IMDb, they all keep track of it. There were no films coming out about JFK assassination when I was making it in May and June of 23. It was the 60th anniversary. After it came out, at least 30 films came out, most of them just junk and crap. But I was like, what is going on here? And each one of them in their way was debunking what I was saying.
Yeah.
I thought, what kind of power? I know how much it cost to make.
Yeah, who paid for that? Who paid for that?
It has to be, the yellow
USAID. Like, go back and track it.
Could be.
There's probably a department in there that funded part of that shit, man.
It could be. Yeah. There's looks for anything that gets too close to the truth and then creates all this confusion around it. So no one can tell what's really happening. Yeah. And of course they're going to do that. And of course they waited until somebody got close enough to the truth that really scared them, that initiated making 30 films by 30 different companies really fast. Because, you can't make a film in 2 months.
Yeah. I got to end on this. I can go for hours. We're having a lot of fun. People in the chat are having fun. But remember for the parade, the military parade in DC there in July, there was a video that came out, and I forget the title of this person. Let me see if I can bring it up on the screen. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, right? So he said, do you want me to play the clip first for people who maybe haven't seen it? Okay, because I got to question this now. With everything going on with Threei Atlas, okay. And of course, okay, let me change slide decks because I have to get the audio in for the audience. So let me change out of this. Hold on a second here. Stop, and we'll go here instead. This one and this one. This one. Okay, I think this will work. Okay, let me know right away if you can't hear it.
As young Americans across the country get to see all of the amazing things that the Army has done, whether it's helping with floods in North Carolina or wildfires in California, or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend the freedoms that are that make our nation so great.
Okay. I mean, I fell off my chair, and I was in a Tim Hortons restaurant, and everyone was like, "What, JC?" I'm like, "Did you not hear what he just said? You talked to an astronaut who's a soldier on the moon yesterday, who's fighting a war on behalf of America's interests, or words to that effect." Okay. And now I don't know if you saw the new recruitment video for Space Force or whatever it's called. They were basically saying, hey, our enemies now have the technology to put bases on the far side of the moon and Mars, and we need some type of oversight to protect our interests. They're basically telling you, dude, we're already in space. Like, this is coming out really fast and furious. This guy was, I don't think it was a faux pas. It came out yesterday. Oh, I misspoke. I meant the space station, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but what about the war part? He's fighting a war from the space station. Like, again, this is a calm of sorts, in my humble opinion. What did you make of this, Jay?
I think it's just these guys are making mistakes. They're letting it slip out. What some guy in the Trump administration said that they can, something about time and space, and that was like a month and a half ago. And it's like, what the heck? And so I think that first off, there's a whole bunch of people that are done. They're just done. They've been working for the government, keeping these secrets. They keep getting told that they're going to release the secrets any day now. They never get released. And so they don't care. They'll kill me then, you know? And I think that's a lot of it. Because I know a lot of these guys, and they're like, I'm done. I'm just going to go public. So I think you're going to see a huge onslaught of truth coming out, and especially the technological front. And I think we're right on the edge of them just giving up. I think we're going to have free energy pretty soon. Probably going to be able to fly to Australia in 25 minutes or something. And I think that's where we are. I think that the weight of the truth is so much that it's just going to burst through the bottom of the floor.
Do you think that perhaps that's what Bongino is referring to? Did you see his comment he posted yesterday? Something to the effect that something will change him forever. He can't fathom the reality of what this investigation brought. And at some point here, we all deserve the truth, and the truth will come out. Words to that effect. You guys can read that on the screen here too. Do you think he's talking about aliens at this point, or people on the moon? What do you think just has Bongino up in a knot here?
I don't know. I think he may have seen some of the technologies that we have and realized how incredibly life-changing they all would be, and that it's all being suppressed. And even the FBI can't do anything about it. You know?
Yeah.
That's what I think. I mean, you're not angry if you had a sick father or a sick child, and you knew that there was a technology that cost almost nothing that could repair them and make them come back. You'd be really angry. You'd be really angry.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where this guy goes, because before he was appointed to this position, on his show and on different podcasters, he says, I'm never going to let this go. The Epstein thing, right? He said, I had too many people, whistleblowers, insiders, tell me what was going on there, and I'm not letting this go. So here is in opposition to that now with this move from Trump to destabilize, distract, and whatever he's doing here to get at the enemy. Bongino on a 3D level, and so is Kash Patel, and so is Pambani. They're in a difficult spot for the normies out there who are looking at this just from a 3D perspective of, hey, you promised something, you're not doing it, and now you're gaslighting me. Where do you think Bongino and Pambani go from here? Are they going to get vindicated, or do they have to do this walk of shame or stay in the hot kitchen here for a little bit longer here before this reality comes out? Does it damage their reputation?
He's screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, if he quits his job and goes back to being a podcaster, who's going to believe him? So, I mean, he's got himself in a terrible dilemma.
Good point.
I think that all you really have to do is, call him up and say, your kid's 12 years old, and my group and I, we really want him to go to college.
Yeah.
Really, really do. I don't think you have to do any more than that.
Yeah. Or that's a very beautiful wife you have there.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful wife, and you're a lucky man.
Yeah,
you're a really lucky man.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Just scare the living hell out of you.
Yeah.
You don't want to, again, losing your own life is really not that painful, but losing your loved ones, that's hell on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Okay. Jay, well, this is a great show. Thank you so much for being on, man. You and I had so much fun at a conference in Ottawa.
That's right.
I'm looking forward now to doing the next one. We're gunning for spring in Florida this time, so I'll let you
Oh,
know
really?
when you have the dates. Yeah, I'd love to have
In
you
the
back.
winter?
Yeah, probably March, April kind of period there. Not necessarily March break, but around that there. So does that work for you? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I love Florida.
Yeah. All right. I was
I
thinking
love
of
Ottawa.
Andy Scheckman said, go to Orlando in terms of conference spaces and all that and prices and all that. You have good venues there. So he says, don't go to Miami or anything like that. It's going to be too expensive and blah, blah. So we're thinking Orlando. We're scouting out a few places now. So I'm excited for that. You mentioned at the beginning of the show, your new project that's coming up. Of course, you're a producer of Clockwork Shining, guys. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Including JFK X, solving the crime of the century. Also, I did 2 decodes on that. If you want to watch those for free, you can watch that on my Rumble. But please go to Jay's sites there to find those. But your new project here, how far are you along? What is it about, and what can we expect here, Jay?
It's a 7-part project, probably 7 hours, which is like 7 movies. And, it's like I saw this meme where this one guy's looking really tired. He says, this is starting to look impossible. Then the next meme is, that's why we're doing this. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm at where I'm like halfway through it. I'm going, this is impossible. But I'm going to continue forth. It's called The Invisible Universe. It's about the plasma universe, alchemy. And I think everybody that's watching this show will find it really fascinating. I'm hoping I can sell it to Netflix or Amazon. And 7-hour show, so it's a lot of information. Robert Temple's in it, Andrew Collins, myself, a bunch of other people.
I love Temple. I have to get him on the show. Like I watched some of his clips sometime on X and some of his interviews. He's a great guy, full of knowledge too. Now, do you think you're going to be receiving the same type of after the fact deconstruction of the 7 hours and an attempt somehow to thwart your message? I mean, as soon as you get into alchemy, you're getting into some severe secrets here that, the Matrix doesn't want out. The Matrix of control doesn't want people who are empowered. And ostensibly, this is what you're going to do with the 7 hours. Are you expecting some type of pushback there as you did with JFKX?
Yeah. Always. I mean, I know I always expect it. I know they're watching me. They're watching you too, by the way. And
don't say that. Yeah. Like, we had CIA people at the conference in Ottawa. Like,
I waved at them.
Yeah. I gave him a free coffee. Like, hey, there you go, guys.
Exactly. They're always there.
Yeah.
If you're not being watched, you're not important, right?
No.
So, exactly. I think I'll get pushed back. Not in the same way I got JFKX, because that was so dangerous that threatened their very order. But this threatens a deeper order, so it'll be a much deeper intelligence group.
A more esoteric crowd.
Yeah, somebody that's really worried about alchemy getting out and all that. And I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. What else is coming up on Reality Check? Let me bring that up, guys. Jay does really cool videos here too and interviews on his YouTube channel. You can find that here at Reality Check on YouTube. He's at how many are you at now? Subscribers, 44,000. Come on, guys, let's go and subscribe. They're getting over the 50K mark. That would be great. I see the Blue Chicken Challenge here from 2 weeks ago. What's that all about, Jay?
Play it.
You want me to play it? Okay,
hold
on.
It's only 8 seconds.
Okay, let me go back to the other screen. I'll play this up for you. Okay, hold on. All right. Is the video going to come up?
I'd challenge you to a battle of.
Okay, hold on. I want to make sure you guys hear this. Okay, I'll put this a little bit louder. Okay. Are you sure I can play this without getting in trouble, Jay? You're not fucking with me? Okay, let me play this.
Corey, I'd challenge you to a battle of wits, but I see you're unarmed.
Okay, that's pretty funny, Jay. You're unarmed for the battle of wit. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. New interviews coming up here on Reality Check anytime soon. Jay, who do you got coming up?
Well, I'm doing a series on UFOs and psychedelics.
Okay.
Bring that together. But I'm really busy, so I'm not doing as many reality checks as I used to.
And,
but I'm still going to be doing them.
Could I entice you in doing a specific video? Maybe not a wacky woo, but I wanted to dive into psychedelics with you. More and more people are interested in that here in Canada and different provinces. We have access to buy them legally now, and more and more people are experimenting with them. And this is a very different experience than the legalized pot that we're seeing here in Canada, that has been manufactured in a very different way than
GMO.
exactly, right? And so I'm curious to where all of this is going, and if indeed these mechanical elves are an entity to be dealt with, and you can have access to them through these technologies and through these mushrooms, for example. I'd like to do a show on that to help maybe people navigate through all that, because there's a lot of misconceptions, there's a lot of fears about that. Maybe you and I could share some personal stories and try to break it down for the audience here as we go forward, because I think it was part of some of the WebBot data, maybe 2013 or 14. I remember the data set. I forget the title of it, but Cliff said there's something to the effect that people who are adept at using these medicines, if you want to call it that, or technologies, they would be hired at some point here in the future to work for corporations to go on the other side of this barrier, to bring information back into this reality, to create, to innovate, to bring new innovations moving forward. I forget the term of it. It was like astronaut, but a word like that. I forget what it was called.
Oh,
And do you remember?
yeah, I know what it is.
So are we already there? Do we already have people doing that? Is that perhaps, as we're seeing the AI take over a whole bunch of our jobs, could this be for some humans an avenue to participate in this new innovation wave and an innovation boom, to where we're taking non-local information, bringing it here to basically create this new reality here? Do you see that as part of the transition?
Well, there's a book that came out like 10, 12 years ago about all the entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley being acid heads and figuring out a lot of their program problems while doing acid and other things. I don't like acid, so I don't recommend it. But so yeah, it's already happening. I believe the entire computer revolution is a psychedelic revolution. I really do. Steve Jobs, all of them said, yeah.
I was going to name him in that. Yeah.
That's what we were doing. And so, I think it's going on and on and on, and going to get, and by the way, they're developing much more effective psychedelics nowadays too. And more importantly than anything, psychologists have been looking for decades for something to solve depression. Well, they found it. Magic mushrooms solve depression, permanently solve depression. In other words, clinically depressed people will take mushrooms and will be forever never depressed again.
Dude,
that's huge.
That's huge. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I was working for this procurement company. We were doing the back end infrastructure, and one of our clients was Merck Frost, the pharmaceutical company. And I remember coming across one of their presentations, and they were jokingly saying that the worst thing that they could have happen to the company is them actually finding a cure for something. Right? And I'm like, wait, what did they just say? But they were joking, but they were serious. Like, they never want to find any cures to anything. So this is going to be fascinating, even with AI now, as you're saying, like using AI in your own backyard to analyze plants and put different tonics together. Now that's like, it's going to be a whole new world. Fascinating. Hey, Jay, thank you so much for your info and your insights tonight. Really love it. Guys, please go check out Jay's work here. You can find him on his Reality Check YouTube channel. There you go. You can find that there. The links are in the description box below. You can find the links to his works also here at jayweidner.com. This was the Wacky Woo for July 27. I love you guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Au revoir.